Hello, and welcome to my channel, where each story is a soft place to land. Tonight's journey is for the helpers, the healers, the ones who always know how to guide others, but somewhere along the way, forget how to guide themselves. In this story, you'll meet Kristi, who spent her life drawing emotional maps for everyone else until she stumbled upon a door that asked her to draw one for herself. If you ever felt distant from your own joy, if you ever been there for everyone else but yourself, this story is your invitation back. And as you listen, gently, curiously, notice how easily it is to let go, to settle in, and to subscribe to this channel, so your nervous system always knows that there's a place to return to. Because here, you're allowed to be found too. Now, let's begin. When the helper gets lost, a story of dissociation and return to self. The healer's paradox, caring for others while forgetting one's own path. Her name was Kristi, and she was a mapmaker. But not the kind who charted highways and topography. No, Kristi made inner maps, emotional landscapes, gentle guidance through grief. She helped others find their way when the world inside them had gone quiet. They came to her lost, in heartbreak, burnout, transition, numbness. And she would sit with them, quietly, until the shape of their pain began to soften, until it found edges, contours, and a way forward. She gave people a path when they couldn't feel their own feet. But over time, Kristi began to forget her own path. It happened slowly. First, she stopped hearing her favorite song the way she used to. Then, she began to forget what day it was. Then, why she'd walk into a room. Then, how to rest. She kept working, kept helping others, kept drawing maps for others. But when she was alone, and the road was quiet, she would feel a strange emptiness inside her, like a house that had been lived in, but never quite claimed. She didn't feel broken, just distant from herself, like she had slowly walked out of her own life and forgotten how to return. One afternoon, after helping a client describe a dream about falling through mirrors, Kristi took a walk. No destination, no podcast, no plan, just motion. The sun was low. The air smelled like distant rain. She passed a field, a crumbling stone wall, and found herself in a part of town she didn't recognize, which was odd because she had lived there for years and she knew this landscape. Didn't she? She turned a corner and saw a door, wooden, painted blue, weathered by time, and on it, barely visible, was a small brass plaque. Cartography of the soul. Her heart stuttered. Without knowing why, she stepped inside. The room was warm, dim, and full of paper. Maps hung like lined papers from strings lines above her, each one different. Not of cities, but of emotions, memories, versions of herself. There were maps of when she first learned to hide, maps of the day he stopped calling, maps of what I wanted to say but never did. And in the corner of the room sat a man, not old, not young, somewhere in between, eyes like still water. He looked up, smiled gently. "You've made many maps," he said, "for others." She nodded. "But not for yourself," he added. Not as a question, as a knowing. She said nothing. Instead, she sat. He handed her a blank sheet, and for the first time in years, she didn't reach for someone else's story. She closed her eyes and waited. At first, nothing. Then a flicker. A childhood bedroom, the feeling of not being chosen, the day she decided it was safer to help than to need. A path began to draw itself. Not neat, not straight, but hers. She drew for hours, didn't speak, didn't filter. She drew the weight she carried, the joy she buried, the dreams she sat down and forgot to pick back up. And slowly, the numbness began to melt. Not all at once, but enough to cry, enough to laugh, enough to breathe a little deeper. When she finally looked up, the man was gone, but her map remained. And in the bottom right corner, written in careful script, was a message. You are allowed to be found too. From that day on, Kristi still made maps, but she made one for herself every week. Sometimes messy, sometimes blank, but always honest. And when others came to her, tangled and tired, she would show them hers first. So they know you don't have to be perfect to find your way home. You only have to pause, to listen, and to let the pen move when your breath says yes. Hypnotic Induction. Theme: dissociation, chronic stress, and the gentle return to self. Before we begin, take a moment to arrive. Not in the world around you, but in yourself. Let this moment be a threshold for a quiet turning inward, a pause between maps, between motions, between expectations. You don't need to fix anything right now. You don't need to answer anything. You don't even need to understand. You only need to be. By beginning to notice the rhythm of your breath, noticing without changing, letting it move like a traveler returning from far, far away. Inhale and exhale. Let it be soft. Let it be enough. And if your thoughts wander, that's okay. They're just roads, well worn, familiar. But tonight, you don't need to follow any of them. You're simply here to remember what it feels like to be home. Now, imagine you're holding a blank piece of paper. Not ordinary paper, but the kind that listens. This paper has waited years for your hand. It doesn't ask for a plan. It doesn't demand that you know the way. It only wants your presence. And maybe, as you breathe, you begin to feel the faintest lines form. Not from effort, but from awareness. A memory, a feeling, a flicker of something forgotten. That's all it takes. Because you spent a long time drawing paths for others. And now, you are allowed to find your own. So, as your mind wanders, you may notice something shifting inside you. Not loud, not fast, just returning. A slow reweaving of the threads you thought were lost. A homecoming in your own skin. Let this be your map. Let your breath be the compass. And let your heart begin to remember its way back home. So the key meanings of this story. Number 1, helping others doesn't mean you're connected to yourself. Kristi maps out emotional lives of others with precision and compassion, yet remains lost in her own. This mirrors a common pattern in empaths, therapists, and caregivers. We become experts at holding space for others, but forget to hold space for ourselves. The psychological truth. Chronic overfunctioning for others is often a coping mechanism rooted in early neglect or emotional suppression. Number 2, dissociation is a response, not a defect. Kristi slows her detachment from herself. Her memory, her sense of self is portrayed not as dramatic breakdown, but as a quiet fading. This reflects how dissociation often begins, gently, protectively, invisibly. Trauma-formed insight. Dissociation is a nervous system's way of protecting you when reality feels overwhelming or unsafe. It's not failure, it's survival. Number 3, you can't heal what you're afraid to name. When Kristi begins to map her own story, her grief, her hiding, her forgotten dreams, she reclaims not just her memories, but her power. The act of naming her truth begins the healing process. Healing principle. Giving language to your own internal experiences creates integration. Self-awareness becomes a compass. Number 4, you deserve the same compassion you give others. The story offers a profound reframe. You are allowed to be found too. It reminds the listener that self-care isn't selfish. It's reciprocal, wholeness, that the healer also needs holding. Permission? You are not meant to be a map for others if you're not allowed to have one yourself. And number 5, returning to self is a slow, non-linear process. Kristi doesn't find a single path back. She draws it out slowly, piece by piece. This reflects real healing, soft, inconsistent, and deeply personal empowerment message. You don't need to have it all figured out. You only need to begin, gently, honestly, in your own time. And once again, you've done beautifully. By simply listening, you've given yourself the gift of stillness, of presence, and of healing. And maybe inside you something has shifted, subtly, gently, like a curtain parting to reveal a little more light. If the story brought you peace, clarity, or a moment of rest, know that there's more waiting for you here. I'd love for you to subscribe so you can return whenever you need a soft place to land. For now, let the feeling stay with you. Let the story echo through the quiet, and return anytime you're ready to listen. Until next time, be well.